when you get hurt in church, or if you get hurt in church. That's what I want to talk about today. I like to talk about those who left the church, and how you should proceed, in my opinion. All of this is just my opinion from my personal knowledge and life experiences. So take it or leave it, but I got to let you know what I think about that. As far as I can remember back, it's always been scandals on the church, especially the biggest churches in the world, like the Roman Catholics, like that. We always had the story of the priests abusing the little ones and stuff like that. And so I always wondered why they don't pay attention to the scriptures, like if you offend one of the young ones and the millstone around your neck, and if you can't contain, why can't you have a wife? He made provisions for all of these kind of things, and a lot of churches just make up their own rules as they go, as it always was. So uh, it comes down to, who do you put your faith in? A lot of churches do a lot of things. If it's not the leadership and the pastor, it's the ones under the pastor or those members out in the audience or part of the flock, around you. They're acting evil as Satan. And when the pastor comes around, they're all smile and holiness. So I do understand that kind of stuff. And I can tell you now that those people are not going to be ready to follow the Lord when it's illegal to serve God. We're headed down that road, and one day in America, Christianity is going to be outlawed, and those people are not going to stand up. They're going to say, oh, it's against the law to worship the Lord. I would worship, but it's against the law now. So you got to remember that it's not the church, it's the Creator. You're not there for those people. You're not there to worship the pastor. You're supposed to be learning and getting guidance for daily life on the earth and how to make it on the road to heaven. Well, they're teaching all kind of stuff. They're teaching all kind of stuff these days, and the people seem lost to me. And I got a lot of experience. I've been to a lot of churches, and I've seen them come and go, rise and fall, grow, then those that fail, and stuff like that. So the evil on earth is real. And one of the things you need to know is that the evil is not afraid to come up in the church. Satan can walk into heaven and talk to God. And if he can't, he used to be able to. That's what I learned all about it, that he could go up there and discuss who he wanted to attack, with the Lord. And so they're not afraid to come into your church. So you shouldn't be surprised if Satan can walk into heaven. Do you think he'd be afraid to walk into the church that the pastor that owns that church? If he ain't afraid to walk up and talk to God, do you think he'll be afraid to come into the church of mankind? I mean, he's not even a man. So the evil on the earth is real. And we're in Satan's kingdom, and a lot of these churches belong to him, and they're going straight to hell, and they think that they're representing Jesus Christ. If you ask any of them, do you believe in Jesus Christ? Yes, I'm my Lord and Savior. But when they act and the way they talk and the things they do, it's all anti-Christian stuff, definite anti-Christ-like stuff, and the language. Okay, so what I want to say to you is that you don't have an excuse to leave the Lord. You can leave the church. You can leave any church you want to leave. But you got to remember that's not an excuse for you to walk away from God. Because he didn't tell you to go to that church, or if he did, he's telling you the time's up in that church, then if this is how you're going to get treated, and stuff like that. So you can't let anything that a man does, or the spirits, or Satan himself, turn you away from the creator of mankind. Okay, he made this planet. All right, you're going to turn against him. Satan didn't make this planet. Okay, he just run this planet because he got cast down here. So don't be turned away from God. All right, no matter how you get treated in the church, I say find you a different church. Find you a real church. You think all the churches are evil? They're not. You think all the people are evil inside the churches? They're not. All the leaders are not evil, okay? In fact, most of the leaders don't even know when those people are treating you a certain way or talking to you like that. They trusted them to be on the staff of the Lord and represent Jesus Christ himself. So they won't even know. And then if it's the opposite and the pastor is evil, well, then you know his entire staff is going to be crooked. So don't be turned away from God. I've been seeing what churches can do, will do, and have done. And imagine how much that I don't know and didn't see and people didn't report that's happening behind those closed doors. So I'm not encouraging you to leave church, but I'll tell you why I left. Well, I won't actually tell you why, because I'd have to go from church to church to church and tell you all of those stories, which would be entertaining, but it wouldn't be the point, nowhere near the point. Um, if you stop going to church and you was a believer, well, one of the things that I would suggest to you to do is still continue with your tithes, all right, and not to the church. You get an account and you put the tithe, just like you was giving it to the church, you put it in that account. And then the way that you would want the church to use your tithe money, that's what you spend that on. Then the Lord can definitely respect that, because he see you fed somebody with that. You helped somebody with their rent. You helped on a medical bill. You helped to feed them. You know what I'm saying? You did something that was Christ-like with the money. You don't care what they go off and do. If they didn't spend it all on food, they bought a bottle of booze or something. That's not your concern. Your concern is to be moved the way the Lord moves your heart. You know what I'm saying? So don't be turned away from God, no matter what. I don't care if every church you go to treats you badly, okay? You just get out and shake the dust off your feet, pout, and get to stepping, find you another church or don't go. But the things like the tithe is a good thing. And it's intended to feed people and help people and do a lot of things that most churches are not doing. A lot of them do. I have to admit, I know some churches that do a lot as far as they want to do, but for me, the churches wasn't lifting the people up in the manner that I felt that you should be. Like if I had a flock, all of my flock would be owning land. All of my flock would be growing crops. All of my flock would be self-sufficient in teaching their kids. All of the kids of the people in the flock would be educated because we would see to their education. And we wouldn't be dependent on a public school because we don't have money or any other excuse. We would be acting like, oh, these are God people. They're not going to perish because of a lack of knowledge. So if you decide to quit, all I'm saying is continue with the Lord in your walk. In fact, I had my last video, I was talking about me eating right and things like that. Well, to you, I'll just tell you that the Lord healed me after I started acting right and eating right. And I haven't been going to church. I didn't get any healing while I was going to church. Okay, I can tell you that right away. None of the serious illnesses that I have were ever healed. I was just on medication. It was going on for decades. And so the Lord healed me without me going to church. Just when I changed my heart, changed my mind, start living right, believing in the Lord, trusting more in the Lord. When I started doing stuff like that, everything changed. And the enemy comes at me harder and from different directions and from this person with that spirit or this person with that spirit. It's always going to be something as long as we on the earth. But how we handle it, you can't let one preacher turn you away from God. This cannot happen. He ain't that powerful. Satan is not supposed to be powerful enough to turn you away from God. Remember my words. Have a good day. You know what? Today is Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. I thought I'd put that in the record too, in case I didn't say that. So what my family does, we put the tithe to the side in the account. And whenever we want to help somebody, we do it. We don't go to the church to ask them to help this person. We just do what we can do for that one. And we don't spend it all or waste it all, or if you would call it a waste. We try to stretch it, to help more than one person if we can. And we wait until we move to help somebody. And whatever the Lord tells us to do or want us to do, we try to do that. So if we walk away from the church, don't walk away from the Almighty Creator. My name's DJ Smith. Peace.